I'm Airman First Class, Maylon Smart, and here with me today I have Kelly Perry. She's going to speak to us about her time in service as a bandsman and leave us with some good advice. So I guess to kick it off, tell us a little bit about yourself, your hometown, what you were doing before the Air Force, and kind of how you got in.
Well, I was working at Meijer in Louisville, Kentucky, because that's where I'm from. And there was a moment where I walked in, stocking the shelves of the lamp and gift section, and I said, this is not for me. And I knew a guy that had just gotten back from basic training, and he was so excited about the Air Force and all the opportunities. And I immediately went to my recruiter and started asking questions. And he was asking me, what I could do in the Air Force, what I would want to do. And before I was working at Meijer, I was on scholarship at IUS for singing, which is Indiana University Southeast. So it's like a little portion in New Albany, Indiana. And my vocal coach who gave me the scholarship was actually a singing sergeant in the Air Force. So that little nugget, I know, It's crazy how God works. He said, she told me, maybe this isn't for you. And I listened to her, and I listened to the advice that she gave me, and the fact that there were singers in the Air Force. So it blew my mind. I'm going, what? I didn't understand. And so I just started, asking my recruiter about singing in the Air Force. And he looked at me and said, it's not just for anybody. Like, it's not, you go in and walk in a chicken suit. And, at that time, American Idol had just started up pretty much. It was maybe 2 years, right? Right. So it was not like that. And I'm just asking questions, I don't. So he ended up getting me an audition in Dayton, Ohio at Wright Pat. And I went up there and sang my, 5 or 6 different genres of music, with Allison Jones being one of the vocalists there, and Felita Rowe at the time. And Colonel Sears was the acting commander there. I walked up in there with 5 different colors in my hair, and yes, girl, with my heels about this high. I was 19, and they offered me the job, and I asked him in his office if I could take my shoes off, by the way, at the end of my audition. That was a moment. And that I had
authentic.
Right? I had no idea. This is before basic training. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know. And he said yes. So I took my shoes off. They offered me the job. I took it. And almost 14 years later, I was in the Air Force bands. I started at Wright Pat, went to Alaska. My husband is active duty still, and we met at Wright Pat, so we went off to Alaska for 3 years, traveled Japan, Korea, Guam, and I know it. I'm telling you, look, I don't want to go back to Alaska. Don't get it twisted, because I don't like the cold. But musically, one of the best experiences of my life in terms of growth. I grew so much there, just tremendously, and got to experience the cultures of different countries and how music impacts them. They didn't even know what I was saying. I was making people cry, whoa, and then we came back to Wright Pat, and I got to work with some of the people that I left when I was 19. So they saw me grow, and that was really a great experience. And at Wright Pat, went through a lot of changes there through the bands, through the career field when they did the forced moves. That was right when I moved back. Yeah, they did the forced moves. I was one of 7 vocalists when I joined, and when I left, I was one of 2. So that's the difference, but
I can't imagine having 7
I
vocalists
know,
right
girl,
now.
right?
Wow.
Right? It was a lot different, a lot different. So, but I grew in so many ways that I would never have pushed myself by myself. Not Kelly. Oh no, civilian Kelly would not have done that. So I always attribute to all of my growth and the experience that I have is from the Air Force bands. I worked with so many people with degrees, and it just, I didn't have one. And
Right.
they taught me everything I know, and they let me fly on their wings. And so that was one thing, like when I was asked to do it, I said, in my mind, I'm going, I hope people that I've worked with like understand the impact that they've had on me in music, period, and just life. So now I'm in San Antonio. Just to let you know, I'm in San Antonio. I've been out for almost 3 years, and I don't sing a lot, to be honest, because I'm working and I'm mama, and I am a military spouse, ma'am. So yeah, like I sing around the house and I annoy people, but other than that, and do an anthem here and there. Other than that, I'm doing what I'm doing so I can live off the land soon in Kentucky.
I like
right?
it. I like it. That's actually a goal of mine. I want to live off the land one day, but that's like a whole nother long conversation.
Right?
So you said you did almost 14 years active duty?
Almost 14, yes.
Okay. And so in that time, as a vocalist, we're called to pretty much be proficient in every genre. Right. So what ensembles were you a part of during your time, and what was your favorite experience as far as ensembles go?
Girl, that is a tough question. Okay, so in the beginning, I was one of 7, right? So I barely had solos, which was fine. That's just how it was, because I was, not how like what you have to do when you come in is not what I had to do when I came in. I had a chance to grow like in it. I didn't have to just be it. So it was a lot different, and they had the manning was a lot different. They could do that. So my daughter's making movements and I love her. Anyway, she's like, you can edit that out. So that's how it's different, with the vocalists that they have to hire now, I would say, than when I auditioned, because even though I sang, Route 66, that didn't mean that I knew how to sing in a jazz ensemble, like anything jazz. I didn't even know about jazz, girl. I just did that song because they said we need to hear a jazz song, so I could mimic songs. Well, I could do that, so that's what I did. And then so they put me in the concert band, and I had a couple of Easter bonnets. I don't even know if you know Irving Berlin, but that was my first song. Yes, girl. In my Easter bonnet. That was my very first song that I sang with the Air Force. I don't even think it was the anthem. So that was, I'm just starting in the beginning there. Then they put me in groups, but it was because we had so many vocalists. I was more of backup singing, group harmonies, all that stuff, which was just beautiful. We did a lot of great things. And like I said, though, where I really grew musically, and even Curtis Sears at a time told me, you gotta go. Everybody sees you as your 19-year-old here. Like he told me that, and I didn't want to hear it from him. I did it. I'll be honest. I was like, what? Like, I don't get it. But he's like, I see overseas in your future. And when it opened up, I took it, and it was just an amazing experience, because one person, there were several, but one specifically with jazz, because I knew how vulnerable I was, that I didn't really know how to sing jazz and be a part of an ensemble like that. So George Pierce, trumpet player there, he retired there. He was so great with me because he took the time, and I had the questions, and I was open, and I wanted to learn. They had, so some folks work with some divas, in the band career field, and I would like to hope and pray that I was just not one of those people, because I knew that I had a lot of growing to do, and that I did not know it all. I surely didn't. Especially when I got there, because I was a part of it was a rock band, like a rock jazz band. So it was a rock band with horns. And then I also was in a Dixie band, Dixieland girl. It was.
Salita was telling me about the Dixie band.
Right. And it's it was tough because I knew a lot of the musicians in there didn't want a vocalist in it. That was tough, but that's okay. And because I went in there and I learned from them, and they're just beautiful artists in there. So much talent in the band. I just have to, the longer that I'm out and get to reflect, it is just insane what I got to work with. And so that was really the Alaska time in the Dixie band, and I think it was the Greatlanders is what we were called, rock band with horns. That was the group that we traveled the most with. We went to Japan and got to collaborate with the band that was there before it closed. So we got to do that. And then when I got back to Wright Pat, I was in the rock band. And I didn't really know how to sing rock the way that, I didn't. The question that you asked at the beginning is like, all these genres, right? I've just grown into them. I wouldn't say that I'm like the best at all these things. No, I was just right here with all of them because I could mimic what singers do. And to keep your voice healthy and all that too is something different. So the rock came when I got back to Wright Pat, got to really get into some good stuff, actually like stuff that I really love to sing, and I love to rock out, and I never even knew that was a part of me. But I know that I can do, like, now you can put me in any kind of band because I know that I can hang. Country, of course, was my first love, and opera. I was classically trained, so I can sing opera, I can do Broadway. Those were the things that I came in with, but the jazz and the rock were those two genres. Pop has never been my thing, just to be honest. I don't even know how, it just doesn't want to do the thing. Okay? The runs and the stuff, my daughter and I still tried, and we're like, oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe it's not our thing.
I'm not great at running either. I'm not a big runner. And I sing jazz and everything. My throat won't do it. I don't know.
Well, you have a beautiful voice. I've heard you sing several times, and you can do whatever you need to do. That's the thing. So, and this is, I think, of course, look at here. You're amazing talent. I hope that you know that. I feel like sometimes, because when you're in the band career field, and depending on how long you've been in, it's misunderstood that this is my job. And it's a very difficult thing to say, to own that you're great at certain things and that you don't have to be the best at everything. It's not.
It can be a little pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. It is, and to keep performing, at a level that you're always giving. But I assure you are. So I wouldn't even worry about it. You can edit that out or not. I don't. Whatever. I'm just like, that's. You can do whatever, you have the voice to do whatever you need to do for the band. I think also we have to want to do it. But sometimes the demand is high In the Air Force, especially the way that you've come in, the demand is high. I didn't come in that way, sister. It wasn't high like that. I would say that it's a lot more difficult, and the the standard is higher for the singing than it was when I joined. Okay. Not that the talent wasn't there. That it's that like I had time. I felt like I had time to grow into it, and they knew what they were getting with me. Colonel Stierix knew exactly. Like I had the talent, but I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the experience, but they had money and spots available for me to grow in it. So I was very fortunate to be able to do that.
That's awesome. So out of all these performances and ensembles, what do you think, like if you could think back to your most memorable or favorite performance, what would that be?
I wish I could, because there's people. See, what makes my experience are the people. So singing with Felita, singing with Allison, singing with a Tara Mason, it doesn't get better than that for me that I've experienced because of the connection that we had on the stage and the places that we would take the audience because of that connection. So, and then the musician, like my deployment team is my deployment team. Like we were together in everything, and those people will always be they're my guys. They're my family. Yeah, like I could not talk to them for like 2-3 years or whatever. If they called me up right now, we would be like, let's do this. You know, there's an appreciation for each other, and we were the kind of group that like we performed, like we did our thing, and then like we would just like like hardly ever hang out because we respected like what we were doing and that we were human beings, and that's just how we were. And it was just such a great experience, and I was always allowed to be me, which is
very important.
Very important.
Very important.
And I miss them all. I do. I miss them all the time. They don't get it. They don't know really, but I can name them all. Everybody that I miss. And I've had an experience with even the bad experiences with people. It's not even, I would say the military part of it is what might get in the way of it steps in there, you know, because that's what is required, you know, and if there's not an understanding of that, it can, you know, there's some feelings, and we're emotional beings being musicians. I always explain this to people, like, look, we're the gray area in the band, okay? It's hard for you to go into a rehearsal and go to a place musically, and then as soon as you walk out the door, you're supposed to be Sergeant Whoosy Blah and all that stuff. But and that is something that you have to learn. That's a culture thing, and it took me a very long time to learn that and to respect it for what it is, and that you know, it doesn't, there's no, it's just the way that it is.
Right.
You know, that's what we get to, I always say, like, you have to pay the big bucks sometimes for, you know, all the other stuff. I was a staff sergeant when I got out.
Staff sergeant. Okay. So you were just getting into
that supervisor.
Territory.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? I have one troop.
The experience for you, like you were saying.
It's different.
You just want to make music, but no, you have these other things
you
also have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always I always say there's a reason why anybody acts the way they do, you know, whether it's positive, negative towards you or any of that. There's always there's a lot going on with people. So it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's about what the situation is.
Makes sense. So when I talked to Felita, what am I saying? When I talked to Felita, I asked her her most funny story. and she gave us a story with you two on deployment. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What is your most funny story? It could be deployment, whatever, something that we may not know.
Oh man, I feel like I'm more of the like a part of the funny than anything, because like usually I'm involved in somehow somebody's laughing at me, which I love to bring joy. Just know that. Oh, there's just really not. There's just a lot of little moments that that wrap all into one. Oh, yeah, and some of them might not be appealing from deployment, and that's why I don't want to, because I will tell those stories because I'm very honest, like very honest. So I have to really watch what story I pick, because I
completely understand.
Yeah, completely. I have to respect that there's an audience of a whole Facebook. Can we go to another question, and then I'll see if something pops in? Okay, sounds good.
So let's see. I have a few more. Talk to me a little bit about your experience as a woman in the Air Force, and what that was like for you, or even as a woman in the band. I know you guys had a bigger squadron at the time, so it's probably more of you. But speak a little bit to that effect.
So do you want me to speak to that as in, did I feel like I was treated different, or like which route do you want me to go with?
Whichever route you want to go. It could have given you bigger opportunity. You could have had meaningful relationships. You might have experienced some negativity. We all have our different stories, just whatever your experience may be. Or we can do it better and do it like this. We can ask you, what advice would you give to young women coming in? And then I'll ask you that same question generally to bandsmen. We'll do that.
Ooh, that's good stuff. Okay, so first off, let me say that I don't feel like I was treated any different because I was a female.
Good.
I've had a great experience respected by my peers for being a female, and yes. So the other big thing in the Air Force that I got to experience that was just really, really wonderful is General Wolfe being the first 4-star general in the Air Force, and getting to work directly with and for her and all of that. That was something so amazing, just to be a part of it, and like her ceremony and like all of it. I was a part of all of it. So for me to see that whole thing at her, I always say like the birthing of her being that, like that's just so amazing to see the accomplishments of that happen in the Air Force. And she's a wonderful lady. In fact, she lives here, and my family, when we got here, saw that her and her husband retirees on the golf course.
Cool.
Pretty cool. I know.
That is pretty cool.
So I really have had a lot of really great experiences learning about how to be a female on stage as a professional performing.
Funny. So you made a comment about the generations being different. One of the main things we are trying to focus on with these interviews is connecting the generations, the former bandsmen to the new ones coming in. And one question I did want to get from you before we end, I think I have like 2 more, would be your biggest piece of advice for new bandsmen coming in, or that, already there, and you can either tailor it to a vocalist or you can tailor it big picture, however you want to do it.
I got it. I got this one. Okay. So my biggest advice, enjoy the music.
That's a good one.
Enjoy that music, girl. Enjoy the blessing of you may not like personalities, but you are working with talent.
Yes.
And
Regardless.
Yes. Right. And like Allison and I just talked yesterday, a former vocalist in the band, and we always used to have this talk, because there are other things that the military brings, life, like all that stuff, right? This is a platform for you to have therapy. Music is therapy, and it can be your therapy just as much as it is for your audience or whatever you're doing. And that is the one big, huge chunk to take away, because that is what I miss. I miss collaborating with all of the talent and having a platform to do it. And no, was it hard sometimes to show up and do that as a job? Yeah, it is hard. But to say this is the time where I go, I enjoy it right now. Nothing else matters. Because it doesn't. Enjoy be present in the moments that are happening, because they're happening all over that stage. And if everybody, you just grow so much together when there's an appreciation for each other musically. So that's my one advice. Because after the Air Force, it's like, I don't know. Everybody does something different. I don't have that, because it's a little different for a vocalist. So if I'm speaking to just vocalists, it's a little different. You don't have just I can't just go and be a part of a group, because it takes so much of my commitment, and I have to and I also vocally can't be up late and doing all this stuff. I just, for me, I can't, I could, but it wouldn't really benefit me. And so to enjoy what you have that's right in front of you, that's just a gift in itself to be a part of, and not let it pass you by. Because guess what? It will. If you start getting into all the other stuff,
yes,
it's gone. It's gone. You've wasted it. It's done.
And then you miss the music.
Yeah. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. Let's just listen to what we're doing in here and take it in and enjoy it for as much as that you can. Sometimes it is a job, but other times it's therapy, and it's a beautiful thing.
I like that. That is beautiful advice.
I hope that helps.
That is beautiful advice. Yes, it definitely helps. I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be, what would you say to the people who are looking for a justification for the band career field? What is it that you guys really do? What is your purpose? What positive impact would you say we have on the community as bandsmen?
I've always thought that no matter where I was and who I was performing for, everyone has a story. So music opens that window, doors, whatever you want to call it, for all of it to come in. So when I was deployed, oh my goodness, people just want to get their voice heard, and music does that. And so if we can use music in the Air Force to do that on different platforms, it is an amazing tool. And it also, I think Eric Nord touched on it too, about he had such great words, but going out in the community where they don't have military around, and bringing that heritage, it is right in front of their face, and they are struck. You can see it, you can feel it. We experienced it. I know you have. You experience that connection, and it's right away, because music is a language of its own, and we are speaking to anyone out there.
And we're kind of giving them a taste of what Air Force excellence is.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
you said, if you're in a community where they don't have military presence, they'll probably
They don't
never
even,
be behind the gates of a base to
right,
see work being done, so they don't know.
right. The patriotism, the thing that like brings us all together, like we are a part of bridging all of those little gaps that the internet, you know, can only do so much. Words can only do so much, but then there's this thing called feeling, and that's what we bring, is an emotion.
Yes.
And that was like one of my favorite parts to do. When I like I sing, you know, certain songs a lot, right? But singing God Bless the USA was one of the best parts of my career. I almost could hardly get through it. I always had to say something before it so that I would not cry from the grown men in the audience standing with tears in their eyes, not because I sang it well, but because I made them feel a certain way.
Yes.
Right? So
yes. What do
that's,
they say? People might not remember everything about you, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
yeah, and it's a true statement. It just is. I mean, in any platform, that's what it is. We have, I say we because I just feel like I'm still part of bands.
You are.
But I am. Because I'm always saying, I'm always talking about the band no matter where I go. So, and how great they are. Because I say they because it's all of us.
Right.
All of us are a part of that and the impact.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk. I've talked to you in passing a few times, but I'm happy we got to do this.
Yes.
Thank you for your beautiful advice.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. I feel very, very blessed to do this. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody in the band.
We appreciate you too, and we appreciate your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks for talking to me.
Yes, ma'am. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.